Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast. This is Pastor Scott, and Pastor Jim is with me.
Hello. Hi. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. we can say now I decorate. Actually, I've told too many people about my Christmas tree, so I'm not going to do it here.
Oh, okay.
But Steph Moss is also here.
Yes. Hi, guys. Not Merry Christmas.
Not Merry Christmas.
It's not December. It's December tomorrow. I will start tomorrow. I guess we're in the Advent season.
Wow.
Fine. Merry Christmas.
I feel like I have been cast as a radical for not listening to Christmas music before Thanksgiving, but you're holding out till December 1st. You're like, no, it has to be December.
It usually has been December, and I think this year I've been open to allowing it to start since Advent Sunday. So.
Okay, so since Advent Sunday.
Sure. Yeah.
All
This
right.
church has converted me. So. I believe it can start that day.
We started in August, so we're pretty indulgent that way. Yeah.
Okay, I can't hold it in. I brought my Christmas tree back from Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Cut it down in the forest.
Wow.
You can get a $10 forest permit to cut down your tree. Brought it down. It at 80 miles an hour for 2 days of driving. All of the needles are still there. It's pretty impressive how God built those things.
Covered with dead bugs, but
That's
otherwise.
true.
The sap is holding all the needles still on there. Well, congratulations.
So,
Anyways, when we
yeah.
got home, when we got home, I had to now we got to do the Christmas thing. And so anyways, we're actually going to be talking about Christmas offering today. Not our Christmas missionary offering. That's what we used to call it.
Right. We can get into that later.
Okay, but our Christmas partner offering. Every year we take time out this time of year to talk about some specific projects for some of our partners, particularly our key partners, and also to raise funds for those projects to get to be a part of that. I want to figure that it would be a cool opportunity to talk a little bit more in depth about why we do this, about what the projects are. Now, we're recording this. I think this will be published on Thursday this week. We hadn't recorded one on Sunday because I was out of town. I was driving back with my Christmas tree on my car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so we wanted to record one for this week. We're recording this on Giving Tuesday. So we missed an opportunity to air this on Giving Tuesday.
Did we?
I feel like what would have been really effective is if we had piled on all the email spam you've been getting today. Every organization that I've ever given my email to has emailed me today.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Goodness.
And probably a third of them that I never gave my email address to.
Yeah. Even my sheets company was like, want to buy some sheets and donate 20% of your purchase to somewhere? I mean,
I got an email from Citibank that said, hey, donate through us. Like, I was like, what?
That's pretty amazing. Yes. Your bank will do it for you.
Anyways.
we're giving you this on Thursday.
That's
then.
right. That's
so
right.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for not another thing on Tuesday. Okay, before we get to this, I have a potentially unpopular opinion spurred on by Giving Tuesday.
Okay.
I am not in love with the whole matching gift thing.
Why?
Like when I hear a matching gift, it makes me less eager to give.
Because
It feels manipulative. It feels like somebody gave the money and they're going to give the money, but we're going to call it a match to try to like squeeze some out of me. So I've been on nonprofit boards before. I know how this works. I've done fundraising before. Like I just thought that I should tell you guys secretly.
Okay.
Because I actually thought about this.
podcast.
I actually thought about this earlier and thought, no, I probably shouldn't tweet that. That's just, I get it. But just personally, I'm not in love with it.
Okay.
So
Okay. Mom's the word.
Yeah, I could see how it feels manipulative.
let's keep it a secret.
Yeah. Edit that out of the podcast. I've never thought of it that way, as feeling manipulative. I think sometimes people give less because they're like, oh, well, if I give 20, it's already going to be doubled by the person that is matching it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I would have given 40 had it needed to all come
But the
from
data
me.
is clear. It works.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just not with you.
Just not with me.
Well, one.
The problem is I love the same organizations. I love the same causes and so I'll just give tomorrow or something.
I thought it was going to be, so my opinion is about Giving Tuesday. I hate that it's after you've already spent everything. So you're giving the last, which is opposite of what the Bible asks, right? Like we're going to give the last of our fruits versus our first fruits.
What do you have left? So after Black Friday,
guilty for overspending.
The weekend, after Cyber Monday, if you have anything left.
We're talking pocket change.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like your guilt offering. Like, oh, did I really need that flat screen? Yeah. No offense to those who need to upgrade their TV. But.
and who chose to do it on Black Friday.
Yeah. It's good deals.
Okay, so
we're asking for a matching gift?
So we're asking for a matching gift for the global ministry. Dang it!
Retirement fund matching gifts are probably a good thing, right?
They are. Like with your employer. Like I think that makes... Okay.
Because then you're not capped at the $20,000 contribution to your 403B. You're going to get a $40,000. Okay, we digress. Go back. We're on a Christmas partnership offering.
And now people think I get $20,000.
You don't.
That's right.
All right. So the Christmas partner offering that we do this time every year is a way that we facilitate our church, and we talk about this every time we talk about money or finances. Our church is overwhelmingly generous. It's overwhelmingly generous to us as an organization, to the church family and the church body. They're also overwhelmingly generous in all sorts of different directions.
Yes, they are.
And we have one of the things that we love to do is to utilize and funnel that generosity, not towards ourselves, but towards projects for our partners and for the things, and even for meeting needs that maybe they don't know how they're going to get met otherwise, and even be in that way, like an answer to prayer. But Jim, do you have any sense for how long we've been doing this?
Well, I know approximately when it started. I mean, there's always been something. Usually, the church goes back to 1901, so there's all this history back that's been lost. Mm-hmm. But the part I know about is that the pastor who came here toward the end of the World War II, toward the end of the 1940s, I think it began in 48, had tried to be a missionary in India during the war and pretty much totally failed. And came back very discouraged, needed a job, wound up becoming the pastor here, and found that he loved it, and he loved the congregation, they loved him, and he had a heart for getting funds and people out into the world post-World War II with all the chaos in these countries that had just been devastated, India, the Philippines, all kinds of places like that. And getting funds to begin to reach out, not only to evangelize, but also to provide medical personnel and food and all kinds of other things. And the church just glommed onto that and really wanted to do that. And it just kind of, and many people started being sent out as missionaries to places from this church. And it went all through the 50s and on, just as a huge part of what the church was doing. So it started as a response, I think, to the devastation of war, and particularly the fact that this country was one of the few places on the face of the earth that hadn't been devastated by a world war and could do something. But the heart of a man who had failed at this and found that he could succeed in inspiring people to do something about it was how it began. That's just God's way of using his failure to, I think, create a huge success.
This is why I love talking to you.
I know.
I had no idea about that. Have you ever heard that story, Steph?
No, and the way you tell history, like I wish you were my history teacher growing up. I was like, I hated that subject. It's incredible when you.
But it's stunning when you hear the pieces. I think on a personal level.
Yeah, I remember when this church hosted the Perspectives class, and I think that understanding missions and the history of it being carried out through individuals and these waves of people and people groups all throughout the world, it just brought to light just how God's word has spread and the intentionality of people being sent and or if they weren't sent, right, supporting from afar is just, I think that's really when it opened up for me. But wow, all the way back to World War II, that's incredible.
Yes. Yeah, that is
Wow.
stunning.
And I think that heart is one that we're continuing to want to emulate, right? And
Yes.
and recognizing that it's not easy because it takes a lot of sacrifice.
It
Right?
does.
It takes a lot of sacrifice as a church to be a multiplying church.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of sacrifice as individuals to be a part of that multiplication, both whether it's church planting, whether it's going overseas, and recognizing that it costs a lot, and not just money, but like it costs personally and interpersonally a lot to be a multiplying church, but it's one that echoes the sacrificial and going and sending heart of Jesus.
Yes, you're right, and I think that it gives back too. I think it's very easy for our sense of who we are as, I don't know what you call it, religious people, focuses back in on us, and it just reminds you that because you go to church every Sunday, it doesn't mean you don't have an obligation and a call by God to do something far beyond the walls of this or beyond the people that you see here.
Yeah.
But that's a very easy thing to lose. And I think that we not only support people, but we know the people, and we bring them in here and talk to them. They come back and tell us what's going on and keep us informed. Creates a huge highway of information and helping back and forth that I think just is incredibly helpful to draw people and help them understand what God's doing.
And so this is really the focus of particularly our key partners, right? We have a number of different partners across the globe, across the city that we support, and we have asked them what their big needs are, right? We support them regularly, but in addition to that, what are some infrastructure, some unique needs? And there's obviously a lot of unique needs in the moment after the last couple of years, in the wake not of a world war, but in the wake of a world pandemic. Steph, we've talked a little bit over the last couple of years about focusing our efforts. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how we've tried to focus that and what these gifts uniquely are about and for this year?
This year in particular? Well, I know, if anybody remembers last year, we kind of saw that our partners, everybody could get, kind of to a screeching halt. A lot of things were paused. Not every partner. There were many that continued services, but many were shut down and just, or stuck, right? A lot of our overseas partners were stuck in different countries, or their country was closed. They couldn't get in and out. And so our funding focus last year, as we prayed as a team, we have a global missions team or a global partnership team that prays over these opportunities that come to us. And last year was really clear to help people kind of just come alongside them where they were stuck. And then this year, as we received some of the special funding needs and projects that we really saw there was kind of this movement again, and that people were looking at infrastructure projects that were going to help continue, their ministry, continue their missions work in either new ways, refreshing ways, big ways. And so as a team, just praying over those, we really saw that there were a few key kind of infrastructure-focused projects that really we could come alongside and probably make a really big impact, so that there could be a few things built that help to, gather discipleship. Do you want me to go through each one of them?
Well, so yeah, let's go through them in just a second. But
Okay.
so we have focused our efforts though more on kind of larger infrastructure projects. And one of the things that we haven't done and that we've steered away from in our conversations as a global ministry team, even over the last number of years, is we've steered away from like making up gaps in support. We've steered away from just kind of the typical operational needs towards these more kind of one-time
Special projects.
Can you explain a little bit about the logic behind that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think I came to the team, and obviously Pastor Jim was already a part of it, and you, Pastor Scott, and Matt Spalding, and there's been a number of people on this team. And when I first entered a few years ago, hearing you guys wrestle through kind of what the focus should be. And there is this part of you as a team that sees some needs come to the table that say, okay, well, we just fell short this year on maybe some of our monthly partnership giving. And so we could use an extra one-time gift, or we'd love to fund, our a new staff member. And so there's sometimes these other needs that pop up, and yes, they sound very compelling, especially when they're tied to people. You really want to come alongside somebody and kind of financially support them, but those aren't always like sustainable, right? Those are kind of your part of your, what do we call it? That's your general like operational funds, right? And so we wanted,
if we fund that with a one-time gift, that's not a sustainable
model, right? Yeah, because then every year you might have to come back and say, oh, we're short again because we're not actually like raising kind of what we need sufficiently each year. And so it's hard to hear that, but as I've seen the team wrestle, it's been really beautiful to see how God kind of continues to shape the hearts and kind of the giving, and it always comes back to these special projects that, like without kind of these bigger gifts each Christmas, you might not be able to kind of move some of your ministry vision forward if we're just kind of funding the day in and day out, kind of keeping the wheels oiled, or whatever that saying goes. Is that?
Yeah.
Enough,
no, super helpful.
That insight.
Super helpful. So in light of that, let's talk through a little bit of the projects that we've highlighted. So we've sent an email out. Mm-hmm. We've highlighted it in God's Activity, but I thought it'd be...
and an email going out on Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll get an email.
And I thought it'd be helpful to hear a little bit about a little bit of the heart behind and a little bit more of the story behind some of these projects. Mm-hmm. So first of all, we're hoping to raise $12,500 for student hostel improvements at Africa Renewal University. So if you remember, we raised funds just to help provide for their staff a little over a year ago, in the midst and at the height of the COVID lockdowns for them. They were completely shut down. Their staff had no income. And so we kind of just met them. And that wasn't even a Christmas thing. That was like a September, we just need to meet this need for one of our partners. And through that and through a number of other decisions and processes they have made, they went online, they've survived, and are now preparing to welcome students back onto campus for the first time in almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. They're planning to welcome them back in January. Is that correct?
No, they just November. They actually just, they're on campus. Yeah.
And so, but the hostels where the students are staying aren't in great shape.
Correct. Yeah. So we've been there. Actually, Pastor Jim, your wife has, she and I
my
shared.
wife has been there.
Yeah, she and I shared a room together in the student hostels. Yes. Anybody else?
Does it qualify as a room if the walls don't go all the way to the ceiling?
Yeah, it's open air sleeping.
Good question.
Yeah, so they have these student hostels / dorms. They are, not closed ceilings, a little bit of dirt floors, bunk beds, and that's pretty much it. The bathrooms are out in the back where the
lions are.
Yeah, not lions. No.
No.
That's a different part of Africa. But so with 2 years of nobody on campus, their maintenance crew not being on campus, like it was not being maintained. And so it already was probably in need of some, some upgrades, but with no maintenance for the last 2 years, they're really dilapidated. So they need upgrading of all the roofing. The walls need repaired and repainted. And so just general improvements. But why I felt like, wow, this is so key is talk about sustainability. So they, students stay on campus and they pay to live there. And so the hostels are a source of income for them. That is a big source of revenue for the university. So if they want to be sustainable long-term and not always have to be reaching out for funds, for operating funds, the hostels are one way to do that. One way to attract students, right? You want somewhere nice to live while you're studying. And they're not super attractive right now, let alone kind of livable. And so one, that's a huge source of revenue, but another key piece of it, if you've ever been there, this really comes to life. You understand it because you've been there. But they have students representing like 10 different surrounding countries. And so there are just hundreds of various tribes that are represented on that campus. And so that this place that they all get to live together, to learn how to study and lead together is just a critical kind of model for their university of living with all different people groups. And the hostels are kind of that key place for that. And so seeing the condition of the hostels and just knowing that this is really a place that they could generate some revenue and just needing them to get upgraded. It was super clear that this would be an awesome project to fund.
So do you have the total?
I do.
Is it 40,000?
It's around like 30.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's 30,000 for
Okay.
the total project, and then we're hoping for the 12,000.
So we're hoping to raise about a little over a third of that. And this is one of those large projects also that whenever we go over, like if we raise more than we need, this and the other large project with Kevin and Leilani Humble is what these will go towards.
Yeah.
Right? And so
so our next team, hopefully this summer of 2022, a team would get to go stay in the updated hostels and see the fruits of that.
Yeah, really excited for them. I'm really excited that they're actually going to have students on campus and their largest incoming class.
Largest incoming freshman class ever.
That's incredible. Right? After coming out of all this, it's just what a resource for Christian education, for training up the next generation of leaders and not just in Uganda, but across Eastern Africa. It's really exciting to see. I mean, when we were like helping to meet the needs of their staff and just salaries and like, we were doing it out of compassion. Like I didn't know if they were going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
And we hoped and prayed, and this is just a huge answer to prayer, both ours and I think so many others, that not only have they found the way through this in the midst of lockdowns that were more intense than we experienced here even, and found a way to make this work and found a way to, in this moment, to see the Lord like just. Yeah.
I'm so proud of them too for taking their courses online. I just think back the years ago when they didn't have quality internet, and one of our projects was funding their fiber optics and internet for their campus. And I wonder, did that play a role in them being able to provide online classes? It's just, it's really cool.
So the second large project we're talking about at that 12,500 level is with Kevin and Leilani Humble, who are all of a sudden, I hadn't thought through how much of this I can say publicly.
I was about to like write you a note, like be like, try not to say too many.
So they run it's a podcast that's not written online. And so we've had this conversation before where it's not as tricky, but they run an ecotourism business as a means of their ministry and as an open door to relationships in their relatively close country. And we've been there. We sent a team there a couple of years ago. We're hoping to send a team if the visa requirements open up this spring. We will be sending a team as well. Would love for you to be a part of that. And I'd love for you to email Steph or I about that if you're even remotely interested. There's an info meeting coming up. And if you're even remotely interested, we'd love to, I don't remember the date. We have lots of great information here for you here on the Pastor's Podcast. We really know what we're doing. But we've been a part of some building projects there and have seen the impact in their community and in reaching unreached people groups, unreached people that have never heard the true gospel, people groups that have never heard the true gospel, and excited about that. Excited to see how the impact of that has of the previous projects we've done has multiplied their efforts. We've got to stay in some of the places in the buildings that were built previously, and now they're building a pavilion that's used both for teams and for meeting, and also for their local community as a meeting place, and really as a hub and as a community hub, a place where they're constantly trying to find and kind of scrounge places to meet, and the community is looking for places to meet. They have such a great reputation in their community. They are such a huge blessing to all of their neighbors, and this is just the next step in that. And so we're excited that the construction for that is already started, and so this is in hopes of being able to
complete it.
Yeah, to be able to complete that.
That project was the $40,000 project.
That was $40,000. So Monday, December 13th at 8 p.m. is the Zoom info meeting.
And you send out an email with all the details.
I did send an email with all the details.
So they could either email us or
just look at that email and join the Zoom meeting. The dates are tentative. That's why I was with those dates and I was like, kinda. so we're working that out. But like a lot of things these days, everything's a little tentative. But they are like, this is their greatest need and real need as a facilitator to their ministry in the local communities. And so if we can be a part of that, kind of going hand in hand, that's also a huge need, and one that we're really excited about as well. Mm-hmm. They became missionaries here, partners here, when you were here.
Yes.
Okay.
You're still here.
Because
I'm still.
But before Cornerstone, as a part of First Baptist, I mean, they've been partners for 30 years, 25 years.
Somewhere in there. I've long since lost count. But a long time.
Just an incredible ministry.
Yes. Yeah. And a place that just had nothing before. A couple of failures we were aware of, but they came in with just the right attitude, just the right idea. Yeah. So that's all I'll say. Yeah.
All right. So also in Southeast Asia, Craig and Lisa have a partner, or have a farm that the ministry owns, and that is a huge part of their ministry efforts. And so this actually is an exception.
Yes.
To our
exception to what?
Well, so it's a big need. They need security immediately because of some extortion,
violence,
and land disputes,
theft. Yeah.
And so we felt like, especially in the midst of everything else going on, this was one of those things that we wanted to say, hey, we're going to meet this need for 6 months in order to get you the time to raise the funds to find a sustainable solution. This is kind of more of an urgent need that we could step in and meet, and one that I think is really important for the longevity of their of their efforts there.
Yeah, and if people are listening are thinking like, well, how's that an exception? Again, you're thinking, okay, well, that's part of your operating budget, is you're having a security guard for your campus or the work you do. And so if this was maybe building a secure fence or something like that, right, that's a project that could be long lasting. But because this was specifically, they need security guards for the lands to not just secure the farming land from all the theft, but a lot of the violence that has come onto the farmlands actually is impacting the safety of the farming staff. So it's also a place of employment for locals, and it's where they do a lot of their ministry out of. And so, yeah, funding it kind of temporarily upfront so that they can kind of figure out a long-term solution for their operations budget and to have security. But also, I think I pray more for a resolution that by funding this up front, that they could now focus their efforts, instead of on fundraising, they could now work with lawyers, work with the local community, work in prayer, that the neighbor and the spiritual warfare that's kind of happening with this neighbor maybe would dissolve or resolve itself. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So our fourth project is ministry expansion of Enlace, who's been one of our partners in El Salvador for a number of years, probably for a decade at this point. And this Enlace does community development, but it does it through the local church.
Yes.
And actually, not just through the local church, but the local church owns the projects. And Enlace is simply a a facilitator of the ministry that these local churches are doing. I mean, in that sense, to me, it's the best of what parachurches are and can be when a parachurch is a help and an aid to the local church, not designed as a replacement to the local church. Do you want to explain a little bit more about what they do?
What they do, or this particular project?
Let's start with who Enlace is. I love the opportunity to talk about him.
Yeah, so I feel like sometimes this one's harder for people to understand because it feels broader, more macro level.
I think that's why I asked you to explain. 'Cause I was explaining it, and I'm like, I don't think I'm catching it.
You did a good job. And it's interesting. I think even our team, sometimes it feels abstract, but Pastor Jose led a team there, 2 years ago, August 2019. And when he got to physically go on site and see the development efforts and the local church pastors and the church mentors that work with the church pastors, working within their community with all the local supports and partnering with local NGOs and things like that to get these, composting latrines built or eco stoves built. Even Pastor Jose said, wow, yeah, when you come alongside your brothers and sisters and you see the work, it's just an encouragement to come and work alongside and love and fellowship together. And I think that's our probably some of our primary goals we send teams. But to see the work on the ground of, churches in action and how they are loving their community, how they're raising up local leadership, and that the community is identifying, well, there's needs for clean water, there's needs for eco stoves so that we're not having breathing problems with how we're cooking, and that the community identifies it, therefore they own it, and then they also help build it. And that you experience the love of the local church through these building projects. It's kind of a unifying project to bring people together. And so we've sent a team. That was El Salvador, but little do we know, the last 4 years, Enlace has already been piloting this same model over in Guatemala. And now that their pilot is done, they have established church coaches. They've established churches in the area that work with these church coaches and local pastors who are ready, and they've already gone through some of their equipping stages. They have like a certain model and a training program. And so now they're actually ready. They're ready to begin implementing the pilot program, and they're ready to receive teams. And so when we heard this expansion in Guatemala, for me, I just felt like it was such an answer to prayer that it was a country that our own pastor is from. And of course, many of our church members also have connections or family or are from Guatemala. And so, just the opportunity to fund that so that it's official, and we'll have a partnership in Guatemala and get to send a team hopefully next fall. Sounded just, too good to be true.
And so they've got these one-time kind of startup costs to expand into this country that we have a deep connection and deep heart for. This is really exciting.
It is. Yeah, and it has long-term benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I love about this is that Enlace is also it connects us, right? It's Enlace's link.
I was going to say that, yeah.
It links and connects local churches together. And so to be in on the beginning of these new relationships in Guatemala, to be a part of that, I'm excited to see what will come of that over the next 5 to 10 years as these relationships develop and mature. And we're not just kind of stepping into already established relationships, but getting to form new ones as they're formed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they have some of the same projects, some of the eco stoves, clean water needs, but they're specifically that community has identified a need for poultry farms. And so that probably is going to be one of our upcoming trips and maybe projects that our team could work on there in Guatemala. So we'll see.
Yeah. And lastly is a local partner in Claris Health who have kind of made some adjustments throughout the last couple of years and are now expanding their reach in a number of different virtual services. The things that we love most about Claris Health have an opportunity to expand. And so there, again, for them, there's an upfront cost of transitioning or kind of expanding their virtual services of $2,500. And so it seemed like a again, kind of a slam dunk strategic opportunity we had to partner with them in that as well.
Yeah. Upgrading their website, upgrading their search engine optimization so that people can find their services online and get connected. I think back when we funded the mobile clinic and, that more people got services because of a mobile clinic. And now just thinking that the year of COVID, brought everybody online to virtual counseling, more podcasts or virtual meetings through Zoom. And so now to have Claris Health services offered virtually and just thinking how far that could expand outside of even LA is just really exciting. So yeah, why not fund their online presence and the ability to do that?
And again, it is so exciting. I love that you mentioned, it was just a few years ago
Mm-hmm.
that one of our big projects for this offering was their mobile clinic,
Mm-hmm.
which has been a huge expansion over the last number of years. And it's so exciting to see the fruit of these partnerships and these efforts, and even just the fruit of this kind of just this offering. I mean, it's kind of incredible to me. We just get information from our partners and say, this is what's needed. And the church rallies around every time, overwhelmingly so. I just feel blessed because I feel like we get to, as the global ministry team, just get a front row seat to watch the Lord make these connections and provide over and abundantly for others, for our partners, for the ways that they are serving our community and communities and reaching communities across the world that otherwise we wouldn't have any way to be a part of.
Right.
So the last part of this, of the money we're raising through this offering, though, goes to Christmas gifts for our partners as well. So will you just explain that last piece briefly?
Yeah. So I think it is hard sometimes to connect when a lot of our partners live all over the world. And so one small way that we just show them that we're thinking of them, we remember them, we love them, and we're continuing to partner with them. Of course, we do that through our monthly giving and our monthly support. But every year at Christmas, on top of monthly support, we send a Christmas gift. And it's a quote unquote cash, but it's in a check form. And so we send a Christmas check to each of our partners. If you're an individual or a couple or a family, we kind of have a giving level based on those kind of family status. And I love that now we send it in a Christmas card. We take a group staff photo and send a Christmas card so it's a little more personalized and that they can kind of see the faces over the years of who's on staff here and just kind of feel a connection back to their sending church or their supporting church. And so, so that offering is just the goal. We try to get that out actually as the very first gift. So as people's gifts come in, we send out the Christmas gifts early in December so that they get those before Christmas. And it's just kind of an end of the year. We love you. Merry Christmas.
So you're saying there's a reason to give now.
Yes.
And not just later.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm doing an infomercial.
Yeah.
No, and I know that's a huge blessing for them. And again, I love the opportunity that we have to just be a facilitator of these gifts to others, to our partners, to see the way the Lord desires to bless them and chooses to bless them through us. Jim, when you think about this, either this year's offering or how we've done this in past years, what stands out to you? What makes you most excited about what's happening, and what you've seen the Lord do?
Well, that's a big. I can think of about 40 different things. I think one of the things that doesn't get mentioned here is I think there's a kickback that when the
not a financial kickback,
not a financial kickback. It's it's a blessing. If something happens to you when you sit down and write out the check and say, well, can we really afford? Okay, let's just do it. And you realize at some point that you have gotten into something big that makes a difference in the world, and you are helping someone who is far away, who really is in a situation that they cannot grow unless you do something for them. And often we get the feedback from them on that, and you get to hear that. And you had the chance to think about them. I gave them money. I should be praying for them, and that something opens up something in your heart. That there's a gift and there's a kind of a reverberation. That there's a gift that comes back. And I believe that's spirit-filled. I believe God intends that, generosity breeds not only closeness, you care more because you gave, but it breeds a kind of inner joy that connects to that person, to that project, even though it's thousands of miles away. And you begin to want to know what's going on now and what's happening. You begin to pull into it. It's an adventure. I think it's very exciting, and I think that's one of the great gifts of this whole thing, that we give and it helps people, and that giving actually comes back and helps us somehow in our spiritual growth as well.
That's so encouraging. I think I totally experienced that, and I know that all of us do. It makes me think of 1 Timothy 6, where he talks about. Have I talked about this before? Is that where you're laughing?
No, I'm working on a study on 1 Timothy 6.
Are you?
Yeah. So I just read that.
When he says, let the rich in this present age be generous, be rich in good works, being generous and ready to share, right? Which is this, it's just that, it's that posture, right?
Yes.
But then the reason he encourages them to be generous, to be ready to share. He says, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. I just love that phrase.
Yeah.
Like, this is living, like this is living when we have the opportunity to sacrifice. And that's actually why we've done this podcast on this. It's not to try to raise the money or like honestly, I'm not worried about it. Like I'm not, we're not trying to make sure we wanted to explain this in a more expanded way so that more of you could share in more of the joy that we've gotten to experience as we facilitate this generosity towards these partners. And so I know it's just a tidbit more, and if you would have more, any other questions, want more details, want more information either about the projects, about these partners in specific, want to get connected with them, we would love to do that for you as well. And before we close, I want to retract my my matching gift opinion. Now it's a little bit of like an angsty like opinion in the back of my head. The truth is, I thought I would say, the truth is, like, there are ways that the Lord leverages generosity towards more generosity, and it's a great example of that. I'm a little bit jaded after seeing 28 of them in my inbox today. Wow. So I think that might be a little bit of, but in general, I'm overwhelmed by those that not only want to give sacrificially and significantly, but those that want to do more than just write it and walk away, but that care enough to want to do it strategically and want to find ways to leverage their generosity for more people to get to experience that joy that they're experiencing. And so I think it's the reality. If somebody's listened this far, hopefully then they hear the other side of that. But anyways, so you can listen to this on Thursday, on Giving Thursday, Giving Friday, but we hope that these explanations have been at least a little bit more of a blessing and an encouragement to you for why we do what we do and the joy that comes as we get to participate in it. So
I especially wonder for people that are new. I remember when I was kind of new to understanding missions and giving and that kind of support, I was always really leery of churches that just like throw money at a problem or like throw money at it like a kind of the new flashy trend of like what pulls at people's heartstrings to raise money.
That's because you're a social worker.
I know, it's because I'm a social worker. And so I care deeply how churches do this. And so when I got to be a part of the Global Partnership team and I got to witness how this team wrestled through the projects and the funding, and that it wasn't just fundraising and putting money at things, and it was never a fundraising campaign. It was always a relationship. And it was a how can we come alongside these relationships with a tangible support each year. And then you have people who sometimes feel bad, like, oh, well, all I do is like cut a check to some partner overseas, and I wish if you're new here that you would know it's sometimes that's okay. That's the first step. Like if that's the first step that like you're going to give this year or next year. And And hopefully that opens and spurs your heart to learn more about whatever partner maybe you've read about in the email or you've heard about today, that you're spurred to pray for a new region that maybe you didn't even know what Southeast Asia or what, I don't know how to say it, Oceania. Yeah, one of our partners is in the region of Oceania. So just thinking about how that could begin to, how God might use this opportunity, yes, through what seems like a check, but it could begin to spur that spark for missions and sending and support and prayer for his word to be around the world. And so for those that are new, I wanted you to know that I love the heart of this church and the people in this church and the generosity of this church. And the relationships we have. I thought I could clarify that the reason we call them partnerships. Can I clarify this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We never even got there.
We never got to that. So you used to be called, I don't know, Pastor Jim, was it called the
Christmas Missionary Offering?
No, but we always say that we're still the GMT, but Global
Missions Team.
Missions Team,
right.
the GMT.
Yeah.
And so we always called this offering like the Global Missionary Offering or the Global Ministry. Well, a lot of our partners work in countries that are closed to the Christian faith, or there's a lot of conflict around it. And so we have to be very careful about sharing their names, sharing their location, or even sharing their ministry approach. And so I hope you got this far to listen to that, because this podcast is super informative, and this is probably the one I'd say, like, maybe we were pretty careful, but trying not to like share the information too far, too wide, because we want to protect our partnerships. And so we don't use the word missions, because sometimes that is a key word for governments to learn of missionaries that are in their country. And so we've changed the word to partnerships, and that is what we're doing. We're partnering, right, in the gospel. And so that is why we now refer to them as partners. So it's, yeah. And I wanted to ask you guys not just to give, but to pray for our partners.
We're going to have to run this podcast by somebody.
Yeah.
I think we're good. And I think podcasts, actually, specifically, we've had this conversation before, because they've been on, all of these partners have been on the podcast before.
That's true.
And it's something that they're less concerned about, because it's like what we're saying right now is less searchable than like writing something on Facebook.
Right.
But we'll double check.
Yeah.
We'll double check. I'm sorry. You were saying something important, though. Don't just give.
Yeah. Or give and pray. I mean, this is...
Please. Yeah.
Prayer is so powerful, and writing your check that it would be multiplied, the giving would be multiplied, that I'm just praying for each of these ministry opportunities, that what we're funding, what those things provide. I'm praying for the upcoming trips for 2022, that they can happen. I wanted to end with how to give. Yeah. Just so that people know.
Let's do it.
So
if we weren't an infomercial yet, we're going to land the plane there.
We're going to do it now.
We're going to land the plane there.
Yeah, because people are like, great, I want to give. How do I give?
Yeah.
So if you're online, you can give through our Realm app, and you just have to make sure you choose in the drop-down menu the Christmas offering. If you give via PayPal, you want to make sure in the notes field that you type Christmas offering, so that way we know your gift goes to that fund. You can also just put some cash in an envelope behind the pews and write on their Christmas offering. You can write a check, and in the memo field, write Christmas offering. So many, many ways to give. It's now through December 31st. So we're collecting all through the month of December. We total it up in January and send out the gifts in January. And of course, you can contact me with questions. And I think there was one other thing. Other than that, I do want to go back to plugging. We want to try to do a trip to Indonesia in April, the spring.
Yep.
We're aiming to do a trip to Uganda in the end of summer, maybe late August, and hoping for a fall trip to Guatemala. And so if you're interested in any of those, reach out and
attend. We'd encourage you. I mean, even if there's just like the slightest, like,
want to learn more.
Yeah. December 13th, 8 p.m. on Zoom. You should have the link in your, I will make the qualification, since this is going up, that these trips are for members.
Yeah.
That is one of the qualifications we make, just because this is our church family visiting our partners. It's one of the ways that we have the kind of accountability. And so if you're interested and you're not yet a member, that's step one. But
contact June,
That's
JOON, at cornerstonewla.org.
That's right. All right. I think that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure. Thank you,
same.
Steph.
Yeah, I love it. My pleasure.
And thanks for listening, guys. We love you, and we'll see you on Sunday.